All right, Cobra Kai f***ing sucks now. All right, we're out with cameraman Nick today. It's been like a movie, bro. It's like, isn't the first thing they do, like, you're like a f***ing like military, like police nut. Don't they like check a pulse is the first thing they do? What is this show, bro?
There's a lot of things that are medically wrong with this already.
I miss season 1 and 2 so much. All right, so today we're gonna figure out what the f is wrong with Cobra Kai and how we can actually fix it. So let's go. So here's the thing about Cobra Kai that's actually unique about my own history with it, is that I actually started watching the show before it even came to Netflix, which is when the majority of its demographic actually arrived, which is in between seasons 2 and 3. But the original 2 seasons aired on a streaming service called YouTube Red, for which of you don't know who don't have ad blocker. YouTube Red used to be a streaming service that had movies like The Thinning with Logan Paul, or TV shows like Cobra Kai. It had a lot of soap opera, TikTok, bullshit shows like that. And the original 2 seasons were aired on this show. And then most people actually came to the show after it came to Netflix, which happened in season 3, which is what the last 3 seasons have been, 3, 4, and 5. And if you ask me, there's been a significant drop in quality in the seasons. If you want to play an example, look at the dojo in season 2 and look at the dojo in season 5. I swear to God, what was the budget for this season?
$7? Are you f***ing serious?
How is it that the show looked better on the streaming service YouTube Red, a streaming service that no one has? If you actually look back at the pilot, it doesn't look that cheap. It has good lighting, set design, like an actual show people give a shit about. I honestly told you to start recording because I thought it was gonna be really funny, but like all my confidence completely shattered as soon as she just kept talking. You know, there's a difference between watching YouTube and being able to fucking speak on your own. It's like, if you don't know, we just heard the good news. If you can turn the camera around, you can see down in the distance, 2 women just started talking and berating us about Christianity. I tried to slip in some jokes about like, what about the fucking people who grow up without even knowing about religion or any of this stuff? Are they just damned to hell and all this stuff? She countered my points pretty well, I think. Back to Cobra Kai. So the thing about the show is like, it no longer even looks like a television show. It looks like a really bad, shitty Nickelodeon sitcom from the 2010s. Not even the 2000s, the 2010s. The best way I can describe it is like, it's like just better than a really good episode of Sam and Cat, which is not a good show.
Yeah, and she's supposed to have red hair, and she's not supposed to be handcuffed to that.
It feels like the show's no longer for like the fan base that actually gave it its audience, which was originally comprised of like 20-somethings and late teens, you know, the age of the characters in the show. Now, because it's at Netflix and it's become so accessible, it feels like it's pandering to like the boomer demographic and their children. It's so digestible for everyone that it's lost what made it unique in the first place. All right, so if you guys didn't know, cameraman Manorak over here is not the biggest fan of Robby Keane.
I think Robbie's a little arrogant son of a bitch. He's probably a bastard at this point.
A bastard, like Game of Thrones.
Pretty much.
And what is interesting about that is that my brother and I are like probably the 2 biggest Robby super fans in the world. If any of you are Preston Jacobs fans, he's like my sweet Robin. We're like the biggest defenders of him. My brother even wanted to make an in defense of Robby video after season 2 when he crippled Miguel. We've had a lot of like empathy and love for his character. He's an outsider, you know, he's never had love or a true father figure or anything.
What do you want?
Robby, what the hell? You doing drugs? You want to flush your life down the toilet?
Like you're one to talk. Don't try to play dad now. You're a pathetic loser.
There was a lot of potential there, and that kind of squandered as the seasons went by as they give him less and less focus. My original idea was to make a video after season 4 and do my own spec script for where I would take Robby's character in an episode with his father that would have detailed his journey and his relationship with Johnny and Miguel and all this, but I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. For now, like, what's the most disgusting shit I could eat right now? Okay, so originally this part of the video was gonna be me and my friend getting something to eat while I read off the list of criticisms my brother texted me for the season, but I never got that list, so I'm just gonna read off the ones that he did send me. The Cree shit was unbearably stupid. The first thing any paramedic would do was apply pressure. It was literally like that GTA 5 shit where Michael wakes up in the coroner's office, except GTA 5 is fake and intentionally surreal. Yeah, so basically he just talks about Crease and how fucking stupid the entire ending was. Not that I disagree with him, but I'm more interested in talking about it from the character's perspective, like Robby and Miguel. I want what season 1 and 2 gave us. Crazy off-the-walls melodrama, but in a self-referential world that made sense. Back when its world had stakes. I want Cobra Kai to be like fucking Spider-Man 3. Learning to overcome ego, forgiveness, watching your best friend die in your hand as the love of your life sits right by your side. That's fucking drama. That's why there hasn't been a moment in the show that's topped the finale of season 2.
She doesn't love you, she loves me.
I wasn't taught the difference between mercy and honor, and I paid the price for it. If I'm extra hard on you, it's only because you have the potential to be better than I ever was.
The emotion, the drama, the fighting, the tension, the stakes, the crying, I fucking love it all. Man, bring me back. Do you remember in season 1 and 2, there were such like quieter moments of simple pathos between the characters of Johnny, Miguel, and Robby? You know, like that moment in season 1 where Johnny tells Miguel the truth from his perspective of what happened between him and Daniel in the original Karate Kid. He thought that Daniel was moving in on his girl. It's this really quiet and happy moment between him and Miguel. But then we pan over and we see that Robby's watching from astray, seeing that the father that was never there for him is finally ready to give love and guidance to someone that isn't him. It's a great moment. And do you remember the great scene in season 2 where Johnny begins to start worrying about Miguel and he begins telling Miguel the story about how he missed Robby's birth because he was over here getting drunk?
I failed my kid on his very first day in this world, and I've been failing him every day since. I should have told you a long time ago. It's one of the most painful things in my life. But one of the best things has been teaching you.
That's such a great and emotional scene that really builds the dynamics and the relationships of these two characters. Just giving them these small, simple scenes that aren't about karate and are instead about their feelings and their regrets is just so impactful. What started as a show that was really morally gray in its perspective on what's good and bad has now just turned into a plain old black and white good versus evil slugfest. I'm sick of how every show is doing this now, where it starts out with a group of opposing characters who can't get along, not because they're inherently bad people, but because they just can't communicate properly, and then bring them together like the Avengers to fight one single big bad. Another thing I was really thinking about is like, who is this show even about now? If you remember the first few seasons, it was very clear who the main characters were. It was about Johnny and Daniel, Miguel and Robby, and Sam and Tori. These 6 characters in these 3 really interesting relationships that helped progress the story forward. And of course, there were side characters that helped people grow on their arcs like Dimitri, Hawk, Aisha, Yasmin, and the goat Stingray, but they were all serving a greater purpose relating to the theme and overall arc of the season. Now it seems that the show doesn't even know who the main characters are besides Daniel and Johnny. Because characters like Terry Silver, Anthony LaRusso, Kenny, and that new girl from Cobra Kai all get way more screen time than Robby does this season. That is not how it should be. And maybe this is just bias on my part because I'm such a Robby superfan, but I feel like his character that started the show deserves so much more. What did Robby do this season? What did Miguel do? They're so focused on this ridiculous, stupid adult karate storyline and figuring out what Silver's plan is that we don't even get to spend time with the characters and their relationships. 5 seasons of Miguel and Robby's feud and hatred for one another is concluded in 1 episode. 5 seasons of Johnny and Robby's uneasy father-son dynamic is fixed off screen and given less than 1 episode to develop. In this season, Robby started living with Johnny and they spent 0 time covering it. You know, looking back, like think about how in the first season they had to pitch these characters to the actors. You know, with Robby there was a lot there, with his relationship with his absentee father, his alcoholic mother, his new friend turned love interest Sam, his new surrogate father figure Daniel. For the first time in his life, this angry, angstful kid who's had to do everything on his own is finally given warmth, compassion, and purpose through karate. Compare that to whatever he did this season. You know, he shows up in maybe half the episodes, says a couple one-liners, and performs his fight choreography mostly off screen. And then they throw in one half-assed arc for him and Miguel that gets resolved in 1 episode. The truth is I just want more for Robby. I find his character extremely relatable and easy to empathize with. So my original idea was last January after season 4 concluded that I wanted to write my own script, which basically would have been my version of Treasure Planet meets Honey Boy, as we would go on a road trip with him and Johnny and explore explore their turbulent relationship. It would have been very sappy, emotional, and dramatic. Something like Perks of Being a Wallflower in Moonlight, which doesn't necessarily mesh well with the badass Cobra Kai style, but would have just been my take on a character I deeply care about. I really would have liked to go into detail about his relationship with Sam as well, because I feel like that's been completely neglected since season 2. You know, I feel like that character was one of the first characters to actually show Robby compassion and warmth, show that he actually does have someone that cares about him, almost unconditionally. But I think I might have been a little misguided in my tastes, because if there's one thing I can praise about this season, it's that it kind of opened my eyes to the idea that Tori has a lot more in common with Robby than Sam does, and their relationship makes a lot more sense. So that probably would have been the error of my script among many others, but that was just my Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about what the fuck we can do to fix Cobra Kai.
I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly.
The first thing that they need to do is to just stop. Stop, rethink, and minimize your ambitions as much as possible. No more badass Kreese Joker Asylum escape plans, alright? Think small. Think All Valley Karate Tournament. Think about the journey of one coming into his own and overcoming fear. These are the very simple ideals and tricks they used in the original series that made them successful. Don't make it about Kyler and Kenny, about Anthony and Dimitri, about Devin and Mike f***ing Barnes.
Mike f***ing Barnes.
Regroup and return to the characters that worked in the first place. Johnny and Daniel, Miguel and Robby, Sam and Tori. These are the main characters and the main relationships of the show. And Hawk and Kreese can be there too, and there can even be this giant world f***ing karate tournament. But I think I speak for everyone when I say that we want it to look like this, and not this. Make it a story about Robby's redemption and journey for self-acceptance, as he tries to win his dad and Daniel's approval through the tournament. Are we really gonna say that the kid who had to do everything himself and who has always had the chip on his shoulder, is he gonna say that f***ing Hawk is better than him?
We talked about it, and there's only one choice.
It should be Hawk.
He beat me fair and square.
Get the f*** out of here. Make it a story about Sam and Tori becoming friends. Make it so it's actually really tragic when they have to face each other in the tournament. You know, like some Sakura shit. Test Johnny's love for Miguel. Make him actually have to choose between him or Robby, just like they did in season 2. Focus on the relationships and desires of the characters instead of the wacky, over-the-top karate fight scenes that we've seen for 5 seasons now. And please, whatever you do, Netflix, just do it with love. And let Robby win.